Hey everyone, and welcome to week 4. So excited to be talking to you this evening about follow-ups. Okay, so I just actually was just live in the group that you might be watching this in, but we are after all the coaching, and I do mastermind calls every Thursday where I share my personal inspiration, what's working for me, cool things that I'm seeing happening on the team, any cool like learnings or discoveries. And then also a few people on the team will also share what's working for them. So make sure you join us every Thursday evening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to, get that inspiration to finish your week off strong. Now, one of the things that we talk about to finish your week off strong is the follow-up. And week 4, our focus this evening is really about the follow-up and the fortunes in the follow-up. This is something that if you haven't heard it already, you're going to hear it many, many more times. And I hope you also say this many times. The fortunes in the follow-up, the fortunes in the follow-up. So don't be an amateur in your business and think that people are going to come on board as soon as you approach them with information for the product or the business. It 100% is going to take multiple exposures. Now, you might get lucky that the timing is just totally right. Maybe they've actually heard of USANA from a few different people, or maybe they're just at the right stage of their life where they've done research on passive income or nutrition or supplementation, and they're just ready, okay? But just know that the average person is going to take multiple attempts, multiple exposures, if you will, to say yes and to be ready. And also don't forget about your own experience. Like, did you come on board right away, ready to go? Or did it take a few follow-ups from the person who wanted to bring you on the team? Now, I can share with you so many stories, and maybe a few of them will actually come to light as I go over 4 really lessons and points about following up. But I can tell you for sure that I have some people I've followed up with for years, right? So I know one thing for sure, having built this business for as long as I have, is that if you want anyone to be on your team, 100% they will be, but it's going to take time, right? So what you want to do, whether it's on your vision board, or if you have like a special place to put specific names that you want them on your team, no matter what, and you stay committed to the follow-up process, and you stay committed to why you want them on your team, you can have anyone on your team that you want as a customer or as your business partner, as long as you stay the course. So the fortunes in the follow-up, and at every level, at every point of the game, this is the truth, okay? It's always about the follow-up. And just think about it for when you're making purchases as well, that good old customer service goes a long way. So even though we're in the age of internet marketing, building our businesses online, the follow-up is still so important, okay? So let's dive in. And what I actually did is I pulled up notes from Eric Worre. He's one of the leaders in teaching in this industry, to pull up his knowledge and to combine that with my own as well, to give you just the structure, as well as kind of the balance as well of what's out there in terms of information. So let me just share the screen and pull up my notes for you so you can see it as well, because you might be more of a visual learner, I'm not sure. All right, so the first thing that we want to talk about here is do what you said you would. Now, this seems like common sense, but it's definitely something that you can get a little lazy with if you're not treating your business like a business. So before we get into this, a mindset mistake that a lot of new people make in their business is that they think that you get so excited about sharing the business or sharing the products with someone, and they get so disappointed when they don't come on board right away. So I want you to expect that is not necessarily the reality, right? And to know that it's a process. So that initial exposure is just part of the process. It might come to fruition in a couple days or a week or whatever, or it might take some real time, right? But what you want to do at every single exposure is make sure you actually set up the follow-up time. So what that will look like is if you're having a sit-down meeting or a phone meeting or a Zoom meeting talking about the business or even the products, and they're like, this sounds really good. I need to XYZ. I need to think about it. I need to read what you sent me. I need to talk to my spouse. I need to do whatever they need to do. You're saying, absolutely, I want to support you in this process and this journey of learning, right? I'm here to support you in this journey rather than I'm wanting to close this deal right now, right? You're here to support them, right? And say, I want to make sure that I'm here for you to answer your questions while the information is still fresh in your mind. How does tomorrow at 2 p.m. work for you? Just simply for me to touch base to see if you have any new questions that have popped up, right? And then you set that time, and then you actually call them when you said you would. So important to set that time. It shows that you're a professional, and then when you actually show up, they may actually expect you not to show up. So you do what most people won't, and you'll have results that most people won't, right? So do what you said you would. At the end of your first meeting with the prospect, you should set up a specific time to get back in contact with them, whether it was a phone call or another meeting. So if you said you'd call them at a certain time, call them. If you said you'd meet them somewhere, go meet them. If you said you set up a three-way call with another leader, make sure that you set it up. This is just a professional courtesy. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Your prospects will respect you more for it, right? And it could also be that you said, I'm going to send you this resource. I'm going to look up what your vitamins are rated in the comparative guide and send you a screenshot, right? So again, that integrity piece, because every step of the process, you're actually training them. Because when they come on your team, they're going to duplicate whatever you do, whatever you don't do, right? So that is number one that we want to talk about. So number two is set up exposure after exposure. Again, the fortunes and the follow-up, okay? So following up is really just another exposure, and exposures are what help prospects make their decision. The more exposures, the more you are helping them reach that decision. So when you follow up, it is essential that you set up the next exposure. My business took a huge turn for the better when I changed my mindset from getting the prospect on the first exposure to just keeping the process going by setting up the next follow-up exposure, then the next, and then the next, until the prospect comes to a decision. Remember, your job is to educate your prospects about your opportunity and help them come to a decision. Most often, that will require multiple exposures. And so you need to always set up the next exposure. Otherwise, you run the risk of never getting back with that prospect and having that opportunity drop away. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, so always setting up that next exposure. I can also tell you tales about when, I did the follow-up and I did another follow-up, and I kind of just let things slide because, they still weren't on board, and I kind of didn't prioritize following up with that person. Now, different things have happened where it's kind of really taught me the lesson the hard way is when they sign up for another network marketing company, or they sign up with USANA with someone else. I've also seen something that's really stuck with me, was probably the biggest reminder, is I sat down with a woman in the beginning of my business, and she was a single mom, and her little daughter was there with her, and she was interested in becoming a health coach and was on the journey, and I sat down with her, and she just couldn't prioritize or wrap her head around the finances behind it, and never got started on the products. Now, I think I maybe followed up a few times, but nothing that led to the exposure after another exposure. And about 7 years into my business, so right now I'm just over 10 years, about 7 years into my business, she popped up on my Facebook, and she was going through cancer treatment. Now, that really hit me hard, because do I know for sure that I could have prevented her from that? No, I don't know that. But I do know that if she had Cell Essentials in her all that whole time, that even if she were to have been going through that that she'd be suffering less and her diagnosis would probably be much better. So we don't want to carry that with us either. So the lesson is to make sure that we're not just losing focus. You have your list of 40 people. If you don't already have that, please make sure that you do. So write down 40 people that you want to have in your business in some capacity as a customer or as a business partner. Start with 40 and really continue the process. And don't cross them off until they've said, no, never, ever ask me again, okay? Other than that, it's exposure after exposure. Now, what would that look like? I think in every conversation, you have opportunity to make different notes or to know where they're going or to have different kind of hints or, that of ways that you can follow up with them. So it might come in the form of you learning something new that you want to share with them. It might come from the form of, is it okay if I let you know about our next event? Because I'd love to see you there one time. And you give them the information when the next event comes up, okay? So setting up exposure after exposure until they see the vision, until the timing's right, and until we're really not done our job until we've helped them either come on board or until they're like, no way, not happening in this lifetime, which I don't think it's ever happened to you before. Okay, so number 3. It will take multiple exposures. Have we said that yet? Okay, so again, it will most likely take several exposures before a prospect comes to a decision. In fact, it can take an average of 4 to 6 exposures for the average prospect to join. So following up is not just something that you do once with each prospect. Be patient as you meet with your prospects several times to talk about the opportunity. Everyone is different, and so they come to decisions at different rates. Don't get discouraged when it takes one prospect longer to understand your opportunity than another. Just keep holding exposure after exposure. Keep talking with them about your product and your opportunity. Talk about why you decided to join. Tell stories of lives that have changed. Answer their questions about compensation plan, the company, the product, and anything else. Address their objections and concerns, but most likely, foster the relationship with them. Most importantly, foster the relationships with them. We are in the relationship business. Never forget that. Don't just treat your prospects as someone to get into your business. Treat them as a friend. Build a relationship again. Ask them about their family and their lives. Get to know them. All of your interactions with your prospects don't have to be exposures where you talk about the opportunity, invite them over for dinner, or get your families together for a day at the amusement park. Be their friend, and they will respect you and listen about your opportunity more. Really important, okay? So if you've been working with me for a little while, you know that I say this often. We are network marketers, and that means that we are in the relationship business. And what an incredible business to be in, okay? So we're not just talking to people, just trying to be friends with them so that they join our business. We are, every day, we set the intention to be of service. So when you are going out into the world, you set the intention to listen. You set the intention to listen more than you speak and to be of service. And that might mean connecting people to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe you know of a great yoga studio that they should go to, or you want to share a book with them, or you want to tell them about something going on in the neighborhood, but you're really like helping them. So when people are sharing their lives with you, you're like, I might have a solution for that, or let me give you the recipe for this, or let me give you this person's business card. You become known as someone who wants to help other people. And then if you are providing solutions, if you are really someone who is committed to the relationship and helping them and having that pure intention, then of course when you provide the solution that also has to do with the products that you represent, our incredible products with USANA, then of course they're going to be open to it, right? When they know that they can trust you and they're sharing that they could really use extra income, you can genuinely say, why don't you come take a look at what I do? Right? And the pressure isn't there and it feels so, so good, okay? Multiple exposures and it can feel really good, not slimy, okay? So next is condensed time between exposures. While it will take time for your prospects to make a decision, too much time between exposures can actually do more damage than good. Life has a way of being distracting, for sure. If a month passes between exposures, more than likely your prospect hasn't been thinking about the opportunity. They may have even forgotten a lot of what you talked about. Each exposure becomes like the first one. So set up the exposures close together. Have a meeting, have a three-way call, show them a video all in a week or two. Use whatever combination of exposures your company uses, but do them quickly. This will keep your opportunity on your prospect's mind, and they will have a chance to really think about it, okay? This is really good. So whenever I'm bringing someone on board, it's not just happening with just one Zoom call. Sometimes, but rarely. It's like that initial coffee date or Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever I did, it's like, I'm like just wanting to get to know them. And they're kind of like, sometimes I feel like they're waiting for like a sales pitch. I'm like, tell me more about this. Tell me more about this. I want to know more about your business. Like if they have another business, I want to know more about what's going on in their lives. And then they're like, wow, like that was a really great conversation. And then they're going to say, well, tell me more about like what you do and how you thought we could collaborate. And I say, well, I work with an incredible team of wellness entrepreneurs, and I help entrepreneurs be healthy and help, families be healthier. Would you be interested in more information? Would you want to know more about that? Yeah, totally. I'd love to. Okay, great. Well, I know that we're running short on time. Why don't I send you a video that goes over what me and my family takes? Or would you be open to watching our business overview to learn more about how me and my team support each other? You would? Okay, great. When would you like to follow up? Okay, I have tomorrow at this time, or I have, so you see how that's happening. So it was a Zoom call, it was a video or a link or an article, and then it was also the call, right? And then what I do as well is like I kind of like trickle information in. So I might find information about a specific athlete if they like, if they're into a certain sport, and like trickle information in between the actual contact points, and to keep them engaged, to keep them excited. And they're just going to see, they're going to feel your enthusiasm. And it's really our job to show them our confidence in the products, in the company, in the business, because they need to feel that from us in order to make the leaps themselves. Yes, even for the products, it takes making a leap to do something new. So I hope these 4 points were helpful for you for your follow-ups. I'm going to put a link to the notes here. And please, in our group, please, I'm going to post this video through the YouTube link. Leave comments there on how you follow up and the lessons you have learned from following up, okay? So let's go follow up the fortunes in the follow-up. I hope this video was helpful for week 4, and I will see you for week 5. Bye, everyone.